Senior Star Admiral Vex Terry adjusted her atmospheric stabilizers as the transport pod docked at the International Space Center. Her iridescent scales shifted from deep purple to an analytical blue, reflecting her focused state of mind. This marked her 37th standard cycle of conducting species evaluations, and she had developed a precise routine for these visits. The docking procedure completed with what she noted as remarkable smoothness for a supposedly developing civilization. Her 4 primary appendages engaged their magnetic anchors as artificial gravity cycled through its initialization sequence. A small detail, but one that spoke of technical competence beyond humanity's officially documented capabilities. "Welcome to the International Space Center, Admiral Vex Terry." The station's AI greeted her in flawless galactic standard. "We are honored by your presence. Standard evaluation protocols are prepared in Section Delta 7. The Admiral's auxiliary sensory nodes detected something unusual, a soft blue luminescence emanating from what her station schematic identified as the community deck. Such areas were typically designated as low priority during official evaluations, but 37 cycles of experience had taught her that the true measure of a species often lay in their informal spaces. "Acknowledged," she transmitted to the AI. "However, I will begin with an unscheduled inspection of Deck 7C. The passage to the community deck presented a fascinating study in human engineering philosophy. Rather than the sterile efficiency common to most spacefaring races, the humans had created an environment that seemed to deliberately mimic their planetary surfaces. Living plants grew in carefully maintained hydroponic channels along the walls, their growth patterns suggesting both aesthetic and practical applications. As she approached the source of the blue glow, her audio receptors picked up a sound that her translation matrix took 3.7 seconds to properly categorize: children's laughter. The sound emanated from a section designated as the Youth Development Center, its entrance marked by colorful holographic projections of stars and planets. Vex Terry paused at the threshold, her scientific curiosity piqued. In most species space installations, young ones were either absent or kept in strictly controlled educational environments. The casual presence of children in a space station, and their apparent enjoyment, suggested a level of space adaptation that warranted deeper investigation. The door slid open with a gentle hiss, revealing a scene that caused all 4 of her primary optical clusters to focus simultaneously. The room was bathed in the blue glow she had detected, but its source was unexpected. Dozens of holographic interfaces floated at various heights, each occupied by human children of varying ages. Their small forms were silhouetted against spectacular projections of star systems, space phenomena, and spacecraft designs. What caught her attention most was not the advanced nature of the technology, though that too was noteworthy, but the children's interaction with it. They moved through complex 3-dimensional interfaces with natural ease, their fingers dancing through holographic control systems with an intuitive grace that spoke of something far beyond simple entertainment. One particular interface near the center of the room drew her closer. A young male human, perhaps no more than 10 standard cycles old, manipulated a detailed stellar cartography system with the casual confidence of a seasoned navigator. His small hands moved through the holographic controls, adjusting variables and plotting courses that her preliminary analysis suggested would take years of advanced training to master. "That's Marcus," a soft voice spoke from beside her. Vex Terry turned to find a human adult, her name tag identifying her as Dr. Sarah Chen, Education Coordinator. "He spends every free moment in here playing Starpath Pioneers. Would you like to observe more closely?" The Admiral's scales shifted to a contemplative green. This was not part of her standard evaluation protocol. Her schedule called for immediate inspection of the station's technical facilities, power systems, and command structures. Yet something about this space, about these children and their seemingly simple games, suggested she might find more valuable insights here than in any engine room or control center. "Yes," Vex Terry decided, her translator rendering her complex harmonic response into simple human speech. "I believe I would." As she moved closer to Marcus's station, Her primary analysis nodes were already processing the implications. She had expected to evaluate humanity's space readiness through their technology and formal procedures. Instead, she found herself watching their future unfold through the casual play of their young ones, and something told her this would be far from a standard evaluation. Marcus Thomas sat cross-legged in his favorite spot near the center of the Youth Development Center, his dark eyes reflecting the holographic stars swirling around him. His small fingers traced patterns through the three-dimensional display with practiced precision, each movement calculated yet seemingly effortless. Admiral Vexteri's sensory nodes recorded everything as the young human navigated through a particularly complex asteroid field simulation. What fascinated her most was not just his skill, but the complete absence of traditional navigation tools. Where her species relied on complex gravitational calculators and quantum trajectory matrices, Marcus simply moved. "Watch this," he said excitedly to no one in particular, unaware of the significance of his actions. His right hand swept through the holographic field, adjusting the course of his virtual starship. The maneuver he casually executed would have required a full crew of seasoned pilots and at least 3 quantum computers on any galactic standard vessel. The simulation grew more complex as new variables entered the field. A nearby star ejected a solar flare, its radiation wave threatening to destabilize the ship's shields. Without even glancing at the warning indicators, Marcus had already begun compensating for the electromagnetic interference. His left hand adjusted shield harmonics, while his right maintained course through the asteroid field. "Interesting approach," Dr. Chen commented softly to the Admiral. "He's using the solar flare's radiation to ionize the asteroid field's dust particles, creating a natural sensor array. Most adult pilots wouldn't even consider that option." Vexteri's scales rippled with surprise. The technique the boy employed was remarkably similar to one developed by her civilization's top research institute just 2 cycles ago. Yet here was a human child, discovering it through what appeared to be simple play. Marcus's attention remained fully focused on his game as he hummed a quiet tune. The virtual ship's energy systems shifted seamlessly, adapting to the changing conditions. Each adjustment was precisely timed, though the boy showed no sign of conscious calculation. His movements flowed as naturally as breathing. "How long has he been practicing these scenarios?" Vexteri inquired, her translator struggling to convey the complex harmonics of her curiosity. "Practicing?" Dr. Chen smiled. "This is his first time trying this particular simulation. Every scenario is procedurally generated. He's never seen this exact configuration before." The Admiral's auxiliary processing nodes nearly overloaded at this information. First attempt success in random scenarios indicated something far beyond practiced skill. Her species required hundreds of iterations to achieve comparable results, even with their advanced neural interfaces. Marcus's ship approached a particularly dense cluster of asteroids. Rather than plotting a course around them, he did something that caused all 4 of Vexteri's optical clusters to focus intensely. The boy guided his vessel directly toward the cluster, but with subtle adjustments that seemed to make the asteroids themselves shift their trajectories. "He's using gravitational slingshotting," Dr. Chen explained, noting the Admiral's interest. "The kids figured out they could save fuel by letting natural forces do most of the work. They call it cosmic surfing." Vexteri's scales shifted to a deep shade of analytical blue. The casual terminology masked the profound complexity of what she was witnessing. The boy wasn't just navigating through space. He was intuitively grasping principles that had taken her civilization centuries to understand. "Almost there," Marcus announced cheerfully, his fingers dancing through the final sequence. The virtual ship emerged from the asteroid field with minimal power consumption and perfect trajectory alignment. On his screen, a small indicator showed he had set a new efficiency record for the course. The boy finally looked up, noticing his audience for the first time. His eyes widened slightly at the sight of the imposing alien admiral, but curiosity quickly replaced any hint of nervousness. "Would you like to try?" he offered, gesturing to the control interface with natural hospitality. Vexteri's translation matrix took a full second to process the offer. In her 37 cycles of conducting evaluations, no species had ever invited her to participate in their training simulations, let alone their recreational activities. Yet this child extended the invitation without hesitation, seeing not an foreign official but simply another potential playmate. As she considered the offer, her sensors detected additional activity in the room. Other children were taking notice. Their own simulations paused as they watched with interest. Something told her that accepting this invitation would reveal far more about humanity's true potential than any official evaluation ever could. The simulation chamber filled with new energy as other children began gathering around Marcus's station. Admiral Vexteri noticed they moved with practiced coordination, each finding optimal viewing positions without verbal communication. Their behavior reminded her of advanced swarm intelligence systems, yet it emerged naturally from simple social interaction. "Emergency scenario incoming," announced Marcus with enthusiasm rather than alarm. His holographic display shifted, revealing a massive space cruiser trapped in a decaying orbit around a brown dwarf star. The vessel's energy signature matched those used by the Proxima Trading Coalition, a detail that impressed Vexteri. The simulation's accuracy extended even to foreign ship designs. Secondary players detected. The game's AI announced as 5 other interfaces synchronized with Marcus's simulation. The Admiral watched as nearby children seamlessly integrated their stations into the rescue scenario, forming a coordinated response team without a single spoken command. Lily Chen, a small girl with bright eyes and quick movements, immediately took control of power distribution systems. Her fingers danced across the interface, managing energy flows with an efficiency that rivaled automated systems. Diverting auxiliary power to forward shields, she announced, though she had already completed the action before speaking. 2 brothers, whom Dr. Chen identified as the Paddle twins, synchronized their stations to handle navigation and stellar cartography. They worked in perfect tandem, one plotting gravitational vectors while the other calculated escape trajectories. Their coordination displayed an intuitive grasp of 4-dimensional space-time mathematics that should have been far beyond their comprehension. Interesting. Vexteri's scales shifted to deep purple as her analysis crystals recorded the event. They're treating complex gravitational calculations as a simple puzzle. Marcus's hands moved in a blur across his interface, orchestrating the overall rescue operation. His previous casual demeanor had transformed into focused determination, though his movements retained their natural fluidity. "Setting up a resonance field to counter the orbital decay," he said, implementing a technique that made the Admiral's sensors pulse with surprise. "That approach," she turned to Dr. Chen. "It mirrors the Kalf maneuver." "The what?" Dr. Chen asked, genuinely curious. "A theoretical rescue procedure developed by our top physicists. It has never been successfully implemented in real conditions." Vexteri's scales rippled with amazement. Yet these children discovered it through play. A 3rd station activated as Emma Rodriguez joined the effort, her console displaying complex shield harmonics. Without prompting, she began modulating the rescue ship's defensive fields to create a stable energy corridor. The technique perfectly complemented Marcus's resonance field, though neither child had discussed their strategy. The simulation crescendoed as all elements came together. The Paddle twins' navigational calculations created a perfect approach vector. Lily's power distribution provided precisely the energy needed for each phase of the operation. Emma's shield harmonics protected both vessels from the brown dwarf's intense gravitational forces. And at the center of it all, Marcus conducted the operation like a master orchestrating a symphony. Each movement, each adjustment flowed naturally into the next. The children weren't following established protocols or procedures. They were creating new solutions through pure intuition. "Energy corridor stable," Emma reported. "Vector locked," the Patel twins announced in unison. "Power distribution optimized," Lily confirmed. Marcus made one final gesture, bringing all elements into perfect alignment. The trapped vessel slowly began rising from its decaying orbit, guided by the children's coordinated efforts. As it cleared the brown dwarf's gravitational well, success indicators flashed across all stations. Rescue complete. Marcus beamed, his smile bright as the holographic stars surrounding them. New record for minimal energy consumption. Vexteri's analytical systems were processing the data at maximum capacity. The children had just accomplished something their civilization had deemed theoretically possible, but practically unfeasible. Yet they treated it as nothing more than an entertaining challenge. How often do they achieve such results? She asked Dr. Chen, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her question. Honestly. Dr. Chen smiled, watching as the children already began configuring their next scenario. We stopped keeping track months ago. They break their own records almost daily. The Admiral's scales shifted through a rainbow of analytical colors as she processed this information. She had come to evaluate humanity's space readiness through traditional metrics. Instead, she was witnessing something unprecedented. A generation that treated the most complex challenges of space exploration as natural as playing in their backyard. Admiral Vexteri activated her deep analysis protocols as she interfaced with the Starpath Pioneer's core systems. The game's underlying architecture unfolded before her consciousness like a blooming crystal garden, each layer revealing new complexities that defied her initial assumptions. This is far more than a simple simulation, she transmitted to her personal data core. The base code contained perfect replications of stellar phenomena, from quantum fluctuations to dark matter interactions. What appeared as colorful graphics to the children were actually sophisticated models that many research institutions would envy. Marcus remained focused on his game, unaware that his casual movements were being processed through equations that would strain advanced quantum computers. As he guided his virtual ship through a newly generated scenario, each action triggered cascading calculations that precisely mimicked real space-time interactions. Dr. Chen. Vexteri's scales shifted to a deep shade of analytical azure. Who designed this system? The original framework came from Dr. Emily Santos, a former astrophysicist. Dr. Chen explained, watching as Marcus effortlessly solved another seemingly impossible rescue scenario. But the children themselves have shaped much of its current form through their interactions. The Admiral's sensory nodes pulsed with surprise. The system was learning and adapting to the children's intuitive understanding of space physics. Each playful decision they made was being recorded, analyzed, and incorporated into increasingly complex scenarios. A new alert drew her attention back to Marcus's station. The boy had encountered a unique gravitational anomaly, one that perfectly matched a phenomenon her own species had documented in the Carina Nebula. Without hesitation, he began executing a series of maneuvers that her analysis confirmed would be the optimal approach. Fascinating, she harmonized. He's naturally accounting for quantum turbulence effects that took our scientists 3 decades to properly document. The simulation expanded as more children joined, each adding new variables to the scenario. Their casual cooperation belied the incredible complexity of their actions. Energy fields interacted with gravitational waves, shield harmonics adapted to radiation fluctuations, and space-time itself seemed to bend to their collective will. Vexteri's analysis crystals recorded everything as the children played. Each moment revealed new insights into humanity's unique relationship with space physics. Where other species laboriously learned these principles through rigid study, humans absorbed them through intuitive play. Look at this pattern. Dr. Chen pointed to a subtle energy signature in Marcus's ship's wake. They discovered they could use quantum wake traces to improve fuel efficiency. Started calling it cosmic breadcrumbs after some old Earth story. The Admiral's scales rippled with recognition. The technique was remarkably similar to a theoretical propulsion method her civilization's best minds were still trying to perfect. Yet these children had not only discovered it but improved upon it through simple trial and error. A holographic alert indicated that Marcus had initiated a particularly complex maneuver. The boy's fingers moved with practiced grace as he navigated through a series of nested gravity wells. Each motion was precisely calculated, though he showed no sign of conscious mathematical effort. Their neural patterns during play, Vex Terry observed through her advanced sensors. They're operating at efficiency levels that should be impossible without biological enhancement. Dr. Chen smiled. They're just having fun. That's the beauty of it. They're not trying to be efficient or optimal. They're simply exploring and enjoying themselves. The Admiral's analytical systems processed this statement carefully. The concept of achieving peak performance through enjoyment rather than focused effort challenged many of her species' fundamental assumptions about development and learning. As she watched, Marcus successfully completed his complex maneuver, saving both time and energy compared to standard approaches. The boy celebrated with a small fist pump, already eager to tackle the next challenge. "Did you see that?" he asked excitedly, finally turning to acknowledge his observers. "I found a way to use the gravity wells to slingshot past the radiation barrier." Vex Terry's scales shifted to a shade of deep contemplation. The child had just casually described a technique that could revolutionize deep space navigation. Yet to him, it was simply another exciting discovery in an afternoon of play. The true brilliance of the system suddenly became clear to her. It wasn't just teaching children about space. It was allowing them to reshape humanity's understanding of the cosmos through pure, unrestrained creativity. As more children filtered into the Youth Development Center, Admiral Vex Terry's sensors detected a subtle shift in the room's energy patterns. What began as individual exploration was transforming into something far more intriguing, a spontaneous collaborative mission. "Deep space anomaly detected," the simulation announced, projecting a massive stellar phenomenon that sprawled across multiple interfaces. The Admiral recognized it as a perfect recreation of the Epsilon Void, a notorious navigational challenge that had claimed countless vessels. Marcus looked up from his station, making brief eye contact with the other children. No words were exchanged, yet within seconds, every interface in the room had synchronized to tackle the challenge. The Admiral's analytical crystals vibrated with interest as she observed their silent coordination. "Notice how they position themselves," Dr. Chen whispered. "It's completely intuitive. They naturally form optimal information-sharing patterns without any formal training." The children arranged their stations in a rough spiral, with Marcus at the center. Lai Li Chen's power distribution console pulsed with energy readings, while the Paddle twins split the navigation duties between their stations. Emma Rodriguez's shield harmonics interface gleamed with complex patterns, and 3 new children joined, their stations adapting to fill crucial support roles. "Beginning void approach," Marcus announced, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. The simulated ships moved in perfect formation, each child managing their vessel with unconscious precision. Vex Terry's scales shifted through shades of analytical wonder as she processed the scene. The children were implementing advanced fleet tactics that even veteran commanders struggled to master, yet they treated it as naturally as a playground game. "Look at their energy signature patterns," she transmitted to her personal data core. "They're maintaining quantum coherence across multiple vessels without using standard synchronization protocols." A series of gravitational waves rippled through the simulation, threatening to disrupt the fleet's formation. Without a word, each child adjusted their ship's position, creating a dynamic pattern that transformed the waves from a threat into an advantage. "They're surfing the gravity waves," one of the younger children exclaimed, bouncing excitedly in her seat. The Admiral's translation matrix noted the accuracy of the primitive description. The fleet was indeed using the gravitational disturbances to reduce energy consumption and increase speed. Dr. Chen nodded appreciatively. "They discovered that technique last week. Now they're teaching it to the newer kids through shared missions like this." The deeper implications struck Vex Terry like a quantum pulse. These children weren't just playing a game. They were developing and passing on new knowledge about space travel through direct experience. Their collaborative play was evolving humanity's understanding of cosmic navigation in real time. The simulation reached a critical point as the fleet approached the void's core. Traditional navigation became impossible as normal spacetime began to break down. The Admiral expected confusion or hesitation, but the children remained perfectly calm. "Ready for the thread-the-needle maneuver?" Marcus asked, receiving enthusiastic nods from his companions. Their ships began weaving complex patterns through the void, each vessel's movement complementing the others in an intricate dance through spacetime. Vexteri's analytical systems nearly overloaded as she processed their approach. The children had intuitively developed a method for navigating quantum unstable space that didn't rely on traditional sensors or calculations. Instead, they used the complex interactions between their ships to maintain stability. "They're creating a self-sustaining navigation network," she harmonized in amazement. "Each ship serves as both a beacon and a waypoint for the others." The fleet emerged from the void's core in perfect formation, their energy reserves barely depleted. Cheers erupted from the children, though they were already eagerly discussing how to improve their performance on the next run. "Did you see how we adapted the cosmic breadcrumbs technique?" Marcus asked excitedly, turning to the Admiral. "We found out if we time it right, we can create a stable path for others to follow." Dr. Chen smiled at Vexteri's evident amazement. "They're constantly innovating like this. Every session brings new discoveries, new techniques that we never even considered possible." The Admiral's scales rippled with deep contemplation. She had come expecting to evaluate humanity's space readiness through traditional metrics. Instead, she was witnessing something unprecedented, a generation that was rewriting the rules of space exploration through collaborative imagination. As Admiral Vexteri continued her observation, the simulation underwent a dramatic transformation. The holographic displays shifted, revealing what her sensors identified as a quantum singularity surrounded by dense fields of exotic matter. This scenario, she noted, bore striking similarities to recently documented phenomena in the Carina sector. "Initiating deep space exploration protocol," Marcus announced, his voice carrying a hint of excitement rather than apprehension. The other children responded by adjusting their stations, their movements reflecting an instinctive understanding of space-time mechanics that should have been beyond their comprehension. Dr. Chen pulled up a secondary display, showing the Admiral the underlying physics engine. "Watch how they handle the quantum fluctuations," she suggested, gesturing toward the intricate dance of energy patterns across multiple screens. The children's virtual fleet approached the singularity with what Vexteri recognized as incredibly precise formation. Each ship maintained optimal position, not through rigid adherence to calculated paths, but through fluid adjustments that seemed to anticipate space-time distortions before they occurred. "They're reading the quantum wake patterns." The Admiral's scales shifted to deep indigo with revelation, something our best sensors still struggle to accomplish. Lily Chen's hands moved across her power distribution interface in elegant arcs, managing energy flows with unprecedented efficiency. "Setting up resonance field," she called out, though her actions had already created the perfect harmonic pattern before the words left her mouth. The Paddle twins synchronized their navigation systems, creating a complex web of gravitational anchors around the fleet. Their technique, the Admiral noted with amazement, closely resembled theoretical models her civilization had only recently begun to develop. "Look at this," Dr. Chen highlighted a particular energy signature. They discovered they could use the quantum interference patterns as a natural sensor array, started calling it listening to the stars. Marcus guided his ship closer to the singularity's event horizon, his movements displaying an intuitive grasp of relativistic physics. The holographic displays bloomed with complex data streams that would have overwhelmed most trained pilots, yet the children processed it all as naturally as breathing. "Temporal variance detected," Emma Rodriguez announced from her station, already adjusting shield harmonics to compensate. Her solution, Vexteri noted with interest, involved manipulating the shield frequency in ways that shouldn't have been possible according to standard models. The Admiral's analytical crystals vibrated with increasing intensity as she recorded every detail. These children weren't just playing with advanced physics concepts. They were discovering new ones through pure intuition and creativity. "Quantum corridor stabilizing," Marcus called out, his fingers tracing patterns through the holographic interface that made Vexteri's scales ripple with recognition. The boy had just casually implemented a theoretical approach to quantum navigation that her species' top scientists were still debating. The simulation reached a critical phase as the fleet encountered a series of nested quantum anomalies. Traditional navigation methods would have failed completely, but the children adapted with remarkable ease. Their ships wove through the quantum maze in perfect harmony, each movement building upon the others. They're creating a self-sustaining quantum field matrix, Vexteri transmitted to her data core, her harmonics carrying tones of pure amazement, without even realizing its theoretical significance. Dr. Chen nodded, watching as the children successfully navigated the quantum maze. They found that working together lets them tackle challenges that would be impossible alone. They call it star weaving, using multiple ships to create stable paths through unstable space. The Admiral's scales shifted through a spectrum of analytical colors as she processed this information. The children had independently discovered principles of quantum cooperation that her civilization had only theorized might be possible. "Success!" Marcus exclaimed as the fleet emerged from the quantum maze. The holographic displays showed perfect efficiency ratings across all systems. "Can we try it again, with more quantum fluctuations this time?" Vexteri's translation matrix struggled to convey her mixture of amazement and professional interest. These children weren't just learning about space travel, they were pushing its boundaries through pure, unrestrained exploration. "Of course," Dr. Chen responded to Marcus's request, adjusting the simulation parameters. "Just remember to stay in communication range this time." The Admiral watched as the children eagerly prepared for another run, their excitement undimmed by the complex challenges ahead. Each moment revealed new depths to humanity's natural affinity for space exploration, challenging everything she thought she knew about species development. The Youth Development Center's atmosphere shifted as the simulation initiated its most challenging scenario yet. Admiral Vexteri's sensors detected unusual energy patterns as the holographic displays reconfigured themselves, presenting what appeared to be an impossible situation. Before them materialized a representation of the infamous dark star cluster, a region of space that had defied all known navigation methods. The Admiral's scales rippled with interest. This was no longer just a game. The simulation was presenting real astronomical data from one of the galaxy's most dangerous sectors. "Multiple gravitational anomalies detected," Marcus announced, his voice steady despite the complexity unfolding before him. "Standard navigation protocols invalid." Rather than showing concern, his eyes lit up with the thrill of discovery. The other children responded immediately, their stations synchronizing to form what Vexteri recognized as an entirely new configuration. The Paddle twins expanded their navigational array, while Lili Chen's power distribution system pulsed with innovative energy patterns. "They're attempting something unprecedented," Dr. Chen whispered, her eyes fixed on the developing scenario. They'd never encountered this particular combination of spatial anomalies before. Marcus's fingers moved with deliberate precision across his interface, orchestrating what the Admiral's analysis crystals identified as a completely novel approach to space-time manipulation. Instead of fighting against the cluster's chaotic gravitational fields, the children were somehow harmonizing with them. "Watch this," Emma called out excitedly, adjusting her shield harmonics. "If we modulate the quantum field just right." Her fingers danced across the controls, creating interference patterns that shouldn't have been possible according to standard physics models. Vexteri's scales shifted to deep purple as her sensors processed the implications. "They're not just navigating the anomalies," she harmonized in amazement. "They're using them to create new paths through space-time." The simulation reached a critical point as multiple gravitational waves converged on the fleet. Traditional physics suggested their ships should have been torn apart. Instead, the children's coordinated actions created something entirely new, a stable corridor through the chaos. Quantum resonance achieved. Lily announced, her power distribution grid showing energy patterns that defied conventional analysis. We can ride the wave. Marcus guided his ship through the corridor, his movements displaying an intuitive understanding of principles that Vexteri's civilization had deemed theoretically impossible. The other vessels followed in perfect formation, each contributing to the stability of their self-created path. They've discovered quantum wake surfing, Dr. Chen explained, noting the Admiral's intense interest. It started as a game. They wanted to see if they could surf on each other's energy waves. Now they're doing things with it that our senior physicists are still trying to understand. The children's fleet approached the heart of the dark star cluster, where space-time itself seemed to break down. Instead of retreating, they adjusted their formation into what Vexteri recognized as a completely new configuration, one that somehow maintained coherence even as normal physics ceased to apply. Ready for the quantum leap? Marcus asked his companions, receiving enthusiastic nods in response. Their ships began moving in precise patterns, creating interference waves that resonated with the cluster's chaotic energy. The Admiral's analytical systems struggled to process what happened next. The children had somehow turned the cluster's destructive forces into a propulsion system, achieving faster-than-light travel through means never before documented. How did you conceive of this approach? Vexteri asked, her translator struggling to convey the complexity of her question. Marcus looked up from his station, his expression suggesting the answer was obvious. We just thought about how stars dance with each other, he explained. If you listen carefully, space tells you how it wants to move. Dr. Chen smiled at the Admiral's evident amazement. That's how they see it, not as complex physics problems to solve, but as a cosmic dance to join. Their innovations come from playing with possibilities rather than following established rules. The simulation concluded with success indicators flashing across all stations, but Vexteri barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the profound implications of what she had witnessed. These children, through pure intuitive play, had not only navigated one of space's greatest challenges, they had revolutionized the very concept of space travel. As the children eagerly began discussing their next adventure, the Admiral's scales shifted to a shade of deep contemplation. She had come to evaluate humanity's space readiness, but instead discovered something far more significant, a generation that was redefining the possible through the pure joy of exploration. Admiral Vexteri stood in the Stellar Council's observation chamber, her scales shifting through thoughtful hues as she prepared to present her evaluation of humanity's space program. The massive holographic display before her showed recordings from the Youth Development Center, each frame carefully selected to convey the profound significance of what she had witnessed. Honorable Council, she began, her harmonics resonating with formal precision. My standard evaluation of Earth's space capabilities has led to an extraordinary discovery. The display showed Marcus and his companions navigating through scenarios that had stumped the galaxy's finest minds. The council members' sensory appendages twitched with interest as they watched children casually solving problems that had challenged their civilizations for generations. These recordings, one elder spoke, they are unaltered. Completely authentic, Vexteri confirmed. What you observe is not the result of advanced training or technological enhancement. It is simply human children at play. The display shifted to show the quantum wake surfing technique the children had developed, their ships dancing through impossible space with natural grace. The chamber filled with harmonic murmurs as the council processed this information. Another elder leaned forward, their crystalline form refracting light in patterns of skepticism. You suggest we should revise humanity's development classification based on games. Vexteri's scales rippled with conviction. What we see as complex astronomical challenges, they approach with uninhibited creativity. Their learning method has produced innovations our finest scientists never conceived. The display showed the children's quantum corridor technique, their casual mastery of principles that the council had long deemed theoretical. Through play, She continued, "They have developed faster-than-light concepts that could revolutionize galactic travel. Their intuitive grasp of space-time mechanics suggests capabilities far beyond our current assessment." The recording shifted to show the children teaching younger ones, passing on their discoveries through shared experience rather than formal instruction. Most significantly, Vex Terry emphasized, they actively seek to share their knowledge. Their approach to space exploration is fundamentally collaborative. Dr. Chan appeared on the display, explaining how the simulation program had evolved through the children's interactions. "They are not just learning about space," Vex Terry translated for the council. "They are reshaping our understanding of it through pure imagination." The chamber resonated with thoughtful harmonics as the council deliberated. The eldest member's crystalline form pulsed with ancient wisdom. "What do you propose, Admiral?" "I recommend immediate establishment of a joint space exploration initiative," Vex Terry responded, "not to teach humanity our methods, but to learn from their intuitive understanding. Their children have shown us that there are paths through space we never imagined." The display showed one final scene: Marcus explaining his cosmic dance theory to a group of visiting alien youngsters, their different species united by shared wonder at the mysteries of space. "This," Vex Terry concluded, "represents our greatest opportunity for mutual growth." The council chambers filled with harmonious agreement. The decision was unanimous. Humanity's classification would be upgraded, and the joint initiative approved. But more than that, they recognized the dawn of a new era in galactic exploration. Back at the International Space Center, Marcus and his friends continued their cosmic adventures, unaware of the profound impact their play had on galactic society. New faces joined their sessions, young ones from across the galaxy, each bringing unique perspectives to their shared exploration of space. Ready for today's challenge? Marcus asked his expanded group of companions, his smile welcoming aliens and humans alike. The holographic displays came alive with new scenarios, blending knowledge from various civilizations into previously unimagined possibilities. Admiral Vex Terry, observing from her office in the newly established Joint Initiative Wing, felt her scales shift to a shade of profound satisfaction. Her evaluation had revealed not just humanity's readiness for space, but a fundamental truth about exploration itself. The greatest discoveries come not from rigid calculation, but from the boundless imagination of those who see the cosmos as a playground of infinite possibility. As she watched the children begin another session of their cosmic dance, she knew that the future of space exploration would be written not in technical manuals or scientific papers, but in the joyful innovations of young minds reaching for the stars together. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to approach it with a child's sense of wonder all along.